Trevor Blake, in his analysis of a recently published by Underworld Amusements edition of the personal detail of Wallace E. Baker's decline, characterized the man as a, quote, failed egoist, unquote. In that, it is akin to my idea of neurotic nihilism. Baker was a young man in the early 20th century with an intrigue into the existential, a writer interested in all the usual trappings: biology, psychology, philosophy, sociology, with an aversion to algebra. Much of his diary is not dissimilar from my own records. His personal details and similarities make it hard to agree with the characterization of a failed egoist. Baker was undoubtedly, and as evident in his writings, a sensitive soul, noting that, for example, his use of vices were not as a general habit, but what a Jewish rabbi explained as being because they are, quote, too raw for this world, unquote, and in that get sucked into vices, quote, just to be able to handle regular life, unquote. While most people get into habits out of genuine and sincere assimilation just to have a good time, whereas someone like Baker, it seems that rawness led to what terror management theory would call, in so many other words, ego fulfillment. Baker tried to assimilate, and whereas while tougher, adaptation would have suited better, he did everything that could be done to ensure he stayed in doing the same things that caused his spiral. Circle back to what the rabbi said, and it's a great big white world with Marilyn Manson creeping his claws in as usual. Mechanical Animals is the second album released in the triptych, and in that secession symbolizes rebirth, no matter which way you put it. Songs like Great Big White World or New Model, namely emblematic for the neurotic nihilism prospect as it currently gets considered. Not dissimilar to what Nicholas Schreck once stated, and not being the first or the last, but who I heard characterized in this manner from, that he noted we are essentially reborn all the time, from when we wake up to the body's cellular system completely replacing itself every 7 years, and constantly. Great Big White World, as such, represents that raw, naive, and blinding existence, what Baker writes of. New Model is the recognition of the superficialities of identity, value through vices, I'm the new model. I got nothing inside, better in the head and bed at the office. I can suck it in and smile. I can choke and diet on coke. I'm spun and I know that I'm stoned and rolling. Lifelike, imposable, hopeless and disposable. I guess the word I keep dancing around and searching for is pragmatism. Prison isn't the mind, imaginary lines in the sand, as Charlie Manson once explained. Wherein Baker's issue lay was one all too common, the expectation that thought and small bits of doing would lead to instantaneous and grand results. Rarely, if ever, are things so fairy tale. I'm trying to differentiate myself and remove myself from Baker in this a lot. But again, in the thesis of neurotic nihilism and overall is, what's a good Nietzschean without neurotic nihilism? And with Nietzsche representing a major figure and influence in egoism, as well as what Baker strived for. Environment has rapidly changed since the early 20th century. What is of value is the consistent spirit of it all. Though it is complete cowardice and a failure in egoism in life, as terror management theory could posit, that in not pleading for pity and committing his act as means of ego fulfillment, what it seems is like me, he just wanted to be fucking heard, understood, and not and engaged with. His vice in that regard, whereas mine is the polar opposite, was a seeming hypersexuality, as it would now be called. I think why I didn't actually finish my reread of it for this is, aside for it being a reread, is that it it's an example of a muse, a mirror, of sorts, though, for all the reasons, there are differentiations. Attempting to assimilate when adaptation no more difficult was his job, where Baker fucked himself over. In that he's a failed egoist. There is, as aforementioned, though, more nuance to be taken to it, though. He was, in essence, just trying to survive and couldn't figure out how to live up to his own standards. It is unfortunate, but it is the way it is.